Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK and SportsNetUSA.net. I'm Noah Alvarez, and I'll be joined alongside Ryan Osborne and Victor Vasquez as your Fullerton Hornets are 2-4 on the 2019 season after a heartbreaking loss, this time at the hands to Cerritos College. It was the conference opener last Saturday, and the Hornets fell to the Falcons. 45-42 was the final score as they look to rebound next week. This Saturday, 1 o'clock, as they take on Palomar College. You can listen to that game on SportsNetUSA.net. I'm here with Fullerton defensive back Xavion and Steele. And Xavion, I wanted to ask you, you're one of the few returners on this secondary for the Fullerton defense. What were some of those things that you were looking to improve upon this season, and how did you think you fared thus far?
Really communication. Communication is a big key in the defense, man. And just the DBs, especially the way how we play a lot of cover zero, a lot of man. So everything relies on us. We're sending all the linebackers. So as long as we can communicate with each other and just hold it down, because, it might look like, oh, it's a big play. Well, it might not be us, but it looks like us. That's just the DB life. So that's something we'd like to improve on a little more this year and just getting more picks for sure.
You mentioned picks, and we were talking with Coach Phil Austin, your position coach, last week. He said he doesn't really pay attention to interception numbers. Yeah. You, from a player's perspective, is that something you guys pay attention to, interceptions?
Yeah, but no, too, because there could be someone with 9 picks and get no offers. Just the quarterbacks are not good, and it's just really hard to get picks and just straight man. Like, man, you can get a lot of picks in cover 3. We don't run cover 3. We don't run cover 3. We run straight man. So you want picks, but at the end of the day, you just got to do your assignment.
So you mentioned it earlier, the linebackers, they've been pretty banged up this year.
Yeah.
How does having sometimes inexperienced linebackers play the position change what you guys want to do from a secondary standpoint?
We just got to make adjustments, have our safeties come down, stuff like that. So we just got to work with stuff we're not really used to working with and just adjust. That's all we can do.
Okay. Speaking of adjustments, it seemed like the first 3 games, teams weren't really testing your side. Quarterbacks were kind of shying away from your side of the ball on defense. And then against Ventura and Cerritos, that trend changed a little bit. What have you thought about the competition as far as the quarterbacks and opposing receivers you faced thus far this season?
For sure, Riverside and Ventura return was the best competition so far. But I don't know. Usually they like to test me at the end of the game. So luckily I'm able to make big plays, clutch player. So I'm happy for that. Just knowing my assignment, doing my job.
So speaking of those clutch plays, you do a little bit of everything here for Fullerton. You're in the return game, you make tackles for loss, you're making sacks, and of course you're locking down one side of the field. How do you physically and mentally prepare yourself to do that on a week in and week out basis?
Film. Film. You got to study your opponent, man. Like this week we got Palomar, I got one person, so just straight film. I'm watching what he does, how he breathes, what's his name, where he came from, all of that. Got to know your opponent inside and out.
So I want to go a little bit into your background too, because your dad, he not only owns his own gym, but he's coached around football too. So what does being around not only fitness, but around other teams from an early age, how did that help you develop as an athlete?
For like a JUCO standpoint, I done seen 3-2 team make it to a bowl game, to a 5-0 team make it to the championship. So I could see kind of where the course for my team's going. So it gives me the ability to step up, and actually say something if I want some things to change, just for the brighter the future of the program.
So let's transition over to this year. Teams 2-4. All 4 of those losses, though, were really back and forth games. Right. You guys had the opportunities to win those games too. Compared to last year, where it seemed like last year's team always came through in those close games, what's been the biggest difference that you've noticed between last year's team and this year's team?
Man, we just gotta keep eating, man. It takes one play to turn the whole game over. We lost 2 games in overtime, 1 game in double overtime, man. You can't complain about one play, man. Get up, make the next one. Like Coach Crook said, either you can watch a play or you can go make one. Which one do you want to be? Which one do you want to be?
So speaking of Coach Brian Crooks, now that you're in your second season with Fullerton College, what do you like most about not only Coach Brian Crooks, but Coach Phil Austin and their styles?
For Coach Crooks, I love our low call because that's when I can blitz as a corner. So I love that. And just the communication and the tough love for sure. Coach Crooks is a real hard, old school defensive coordinator. So that's a great experience, Instead of there's no lovey-dovey no. It's either you're going to play or you're not. It's one or the other. And same with Coach Austin. But at the end of the day, we both know we all love each other and we're all a team. So I really appreciate that for both of them.
Now, you have a very unique skill set, like I mentioned earlier. You're making plays in the backfield, you're intercepting balls, passing balls away, and you also make plays on the return game. Was there ever a time when you thought you were going to be playing a different position? And how did you end up settling for cornerback position on the football field?
I used to play slot, a little bit of running back. I don't know, DB is probably the hardest position. It's the most money maker, I think, because you're running backwards. Can't get no harder than that, just starting the game off running backwards. So, I don't know, I kind of fell in love with it just because, I don't know, the mentality of it too. Like, you're all the way on the other side, and all you can hear is the other team talk about you. If that ain't getting in your head, I don't know what is. So, I don't know, I just love DB.
Okay.
It's a different breed. You're a different breed.
Yeah. So now, 4 games left on the 2019 season. What are some things that not only you have to do, but your defensive backs have to do in order for your team to finish strong?
We got to win conference first. So what? We got to actually buy in. We got a couple people not bought in yet, so we got to actually buy in. Just listen to the coaches. The coaches, the best coaches we'll ever have in JUCO history, JUCO and the whole nation. Like, we have the best coaches. They're going to put us in the right area, right assignment to make a play. It's either you listen or you don't. That's simple. That's simple. Our coaches are amazing.
So let's take a moment, too, to highlight some of your other teammates in the secondary, too.
Jacob
if you can go,
Jones,
if you
Vet, Sorrell, Vet, Hogan, Tyler Hogan, Vet. Who else? George Farmer, Vet. So I'm so appreciative about man, a PP. He ain't a vet, but he's still a dog. So I just really appreciate my vets, man. That's why I'm saying we have a lot of vets. I've been here for a while in the secondary, so we really take pride in our secondary, and we're just a different breed. You don't really see that many vets in the secondary, so we all really know what we're doing. So at that point, it's just working together. It's really something special for the DBs.
I appreciate your time. Best of luck this Saturday against Palomar.
Welcome back to the football recap here on 90.1 KBPK's Coaches Show. As we take a look at some of the finals across this last weekend in the state of California, we're actually going to highlight just 2 games specifically, one from the north and one from the south. We start up north with San Francisco and Laney. Now remember, Laney started off the season number 1. They stumbled out of the gate. In fact, they went 1-2 in the first 3 weeks of the season. They've since gone 2-1 to even it out at 3-3. Now, when you look at San Francisco, they entered this game at a 3-2 record. They recently lost to San Mateo, and they needed a bounce-back victory in this one. We look at the first half. Well, there was nothing really there. In the first quarter, nobody scored. Second quarter was exactly the same way. Both teams had an interception, but neither team was able to really take control of this one until we got to the third. In fact, in the first possession of the third quarter for Laney, they ended up getting a 25-yard field goal to cap off a 3-play, 18-yard drive in 1 minute and 38 seconds after they forced a turnover. That made it 3-0. About 5 minutes later, San Francisco got a 40-yard field goal from Dominic Sues. That finished off an 11-play, 69-yard drive in 5 minutes and 36 seconds. So with 6:06 left to play, it was a 3-3 ball game. The first touchdown of the afternoon was scored by San Francisco just 4 minutes later. DeMonte Alim had a 5-yard touchdown run, capping off a 2-play, 38-yard drive in 21 seconds to make it 10-3, a 1-score lead for the City College of San Francisco Rams as they headed into the fourth quarter. Now, when you go to the fourth quarter, Laney had a huge drive. In fact, they went down the length of the football field for Adam Gonzalez to end up with a 4-yard touchdown run to tie it up at 10-10. That took just about 2:03 worth of game time as Laney drew it up with San Francisco. Then with 8 minutes and 42 seconds left, Laney got another touchdown from Casey Onwamika, a 24-yard field goal to make it 13-10, and that would be the final. Onwumika, the hero in this one, for the Laney Eagles to bring them to a even 3-3 record for San Francisco. They drop to 4-2. For San Francisco and Laney, they were pretty even on both sides, including both total offenses. 17 first downs for San Francisco, 15 for Laney in total. And when you look at the total offense, 256 for Laney, 223 on the other side for San Francisco. Now, when you look at the net yards passing for these two teams, San Francisco had 182. Laney had just 101 all afternoon. Their rushing game was pretty decent at 122, but don't get me wrong, this was a pretty defense-dominated afternoon. 5 fumbles for Laney, 4 of them that they lost. San Francisco converted on 2 of them. Then when you look at the interceptions, Laney picked off San Francisco twice and also forced a fumble, which they then recovered later on. Laney controlled a majority of the possession time, 33 minutes, compared to 26 for San Francisco. Ryan Mackey, the Laney Eagle quarterback, went 7 of 15 for 101 and a long of 66. No touchdowns and no interceptions on the afternoon. Keyshawn Ashford, 19 attempts, 55 yards. Alex Gonzalez, 11 attempts, 34 yards, and a rushing touchdown. He was also joined by Harold Tidwell, who finished with 3 attempts for 28 yards and a long of 14. On the other side for San Francisco, Ethan Bullock, 16 of 29. He finished with 182. However, no touchdowns and 2 picks. Jamar Julian Jr., 11 attempts for just 49 yards and an average of 4.5 each carry. Anthony Hurd, 11 attempts, 32 yards in total. He had a long of 11. So that finishes off as a big-time Laney victory, something that they needed to get them back up in the rankings in the CCCAA. Let's drop it down to Southern California now, where Southwestern took on Saddleback in what was deemed to be one of the bigger matchups in all of Southern California over the weekend. Southwestern was in the top 10, and they really needed a big-time victory. Remember, a couple weeks back, they had beaten Fullerton in overtime, but ever since then, they haven't looked as solid. They finish up against Riverside, not having a great day. They get not necessarily blown out, but when you lose by over 3 scores, that's a problem. So Southwestern loses to Riverside. Now they need to bounce back against Saddleback. Saddleback goes into this one undefeated at 5-0. They're looking to keep that streak alive. You go to the first quarter. Early on, nobody was able to get anything going on offense. But finally, late in the first, Saddleback got Chance Nolan into the end zone on a 1-yard touchdown run that capped off a long drive for the Gauchos. 9 plays, 60 yards in 2 minutes and 33 seconds, and they also converted on the 2-point conversion attempt to make it 8-0. In the second quarter, first possession for Southwestern in the second quarter, finished off with a touchdown. Joshua Owen, a 36-yard touchdown pass to Tyler Sakon, and that made it 8-7, capping off a 9-play, 76-yard touchdown drive in 4:09 of game time. Just 2 minutes later, actually more like a minute 45, Cole Harity, 3-yard touchdown pass from Chance Nolan to make it 16-7. The 2-point conversion was good, and Saddleback let it 16-7. Then Saddleback scores once again just about 4 minutes later as Isaiah Garcia Castaneda grabbed a 46-yard touchdown pass from Chance Nolan, who was on fire all afternoon long. 24-7 was the score there as they moved into the second half. Going into halftime, Southwestern would need something huge to get them back on the board. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get any momentum in the second half as well. Elijah Jefferson, a 3-yard touchdown pass from Chance Nolan. He was followed up by Isaiah Garcia Castaneda in the third quarter, a 60-yard pass, and then Abre Booker Curran, 40-yard interception return for a touchdown to bring us to our final score of 45-7. Southwestern was never able to get back on the board, and the Saddleback Gauchos with another big-time victory. Saddleback had nearly 400 yards of total offense in this one, 208 in the air, 187 on the ground. On the other side for Southwestern, something kind of surprising, their rushing attack wasn't there all afternoon. 284 of total offense, 213 in the air, and 71 yards rushing in total. Joshua Owen finished 9 of 24 for 159 and 1 touchdown. Amari Green was the leader in the rushing attempts with 11. He had 37 yards in total. On the other side for Saddleback, Chance Nolan looked terrific, 15 of 26. He finished with 201 and 4 touchdowns, and Devin Friedland came in behind him, 4 of 8, 8 yards, 1 pick. Chance Nolan also finished as the leading rusher for Southwestern, or make it Saddleback, 15 attempts, 88 yards, and 1 touchdown. Let's quickly take a look at the rankings in the state of California as of October 22nd. College of San Mateo keeps in the top spot as they are currently 6-0, one of 4 teams in the CCCAA who are currently undefeated. San Mateo 6-0, Riverside 6-0, Saddleback 6-0, and Citrus is also 6-0. So you look at what should be the number 2 spot, it's actually a 2-way tie for the number 1 spot as Riverside City College gets 4 first-place votes, 242 points overall in the coaches poll. They are now tied for the number 1 overall ranking. Saddleback is immediately behind them at 6-0 with 234 points in total. They stay at number 3. Modesto continues to climb. They are now tied with Ventura, number 4 in the state, 5-1. Their previous ranking was number 6. College of the Canyons and Ventura are both 5-1, but Ventura is tied for 4th. College of the Canyons sits at 6th. We go to Southern California, where Riverside City College is sitting at number 1, Saddleback at number 2, and Ventura at number 3. Now, if you're looking for the Fullerton College Hornets, you've got some problems here. Fullerton is now 2-4 on the season as they look to take on Palomar, and unfortunately for the Hornets, they are unranked for the first time since 2015. The Fullerton College Hornets get bounced out of the CCCAA rankings in the coaches poll, which is a huge deal for this program. Again, they end up losing to Cerritos. That is what gets them out of the poll, as they were recently ranked as high as number 13. That's as close as they would get to the top 10. And last week they were number 18. So Fullerton College, unfortunately, if you're a Hornets fan, they are bounced out. Now let's get it back to Noah, as he's got more here on the Coaches Show.
Now we'll be sending it over to Colleen Riley Court here on the campus of Fullerton College to catch up with the women's volleyball team. I'm here with women's volleyball coach Megan Glennie at Fullerton College. And coach, the first thing I wanted to ask you, your team is on a 6-game winning streak. What's been the most impressive thing on that 6-game winning streak?
You know what? It really just boils down to how we're practicing. We come in every single day, give 100% in practice, and I always say that's what's going to translate into a game-like situation. So the work we're putting in practice, that's what's going to translate. And one thing that we emphasize too is everyone has to be selfless. You know, it takes one selfish person to throw off team chemistry. So we're really emphasizing selfless leadership this year and focusing on each other instead of focusing on maybe your own mistake or what you're doing, and really just dialing in and being selfless leaders this season. So we're bought in there. We're bought in with, you know, working hard and coming in and giving 100%. And it makes our jobs easier as coaches if we have all of these kids on the same page, which they are. So they're bought into the process, and we couldn't be happier.
Who are some of those selfless leaders that have really stood out for your program this year?
Some examples, I think Faith Webb, one of our outsides, I think she does a great job leading. Every single day in practice, she comes in, no matter what's happening. Outside, she comes in and she works hard, and she is a vocal leader and then also leads by example. So every day it's the same consistency. So love to see her stepping up and leading. And then I think Sailor also does a great job as coming in, keeping the composure, composed, focused, and giving our team the insight and feedback that they need to continue moving forward.
So you highlighted 2 sophomores, and the other sophomore on your roster, Priscilla Gutierrez. She played on the program 2 years ago, took a year off last year. But speak on what has been really stood out for her this season.
Definitely, no, we're really lucky to have P. She's another one that comes in, and there's never lack of focus. She comes in, she gets the job done, and what I love about her, as you can see, a ball will never drop. Ball will never drop on the floor. She goes for everything, and like I said, her focus, her discipline as a libero. I was a libero in college, so I'm usually the hardest on that person in that position, playing it, and she does a great job. As the second that we as coaches tell her, hey, you need to change this, make sure you're watching this, she makes the change right away. So she does a great job being focused and disciplined in that position, and just brings a nice composure to the court as well.
So when looking at the rest of the schedule, 6 of your 8 remaining games are all at home. What does that do, especially for your team, riding the 6-game winning streak to end the season?
That's awesome. And one thing we keep telling the girls, we had a tough preseason. I made it that way. It's better to play tougher teams than come in, have an easy preseason, have a great record, and then come into the toughest conference, OEC, in the state and not be prepared. So I purposely set up this preseason that was tough. So we came into this league more than prepared. So now we're at a point, in my opinion, now we need to take every single game seriously because we have a goal. Our goal is to take down the #1 team in the state next week. But then, of course, we need to take down every single team, obviously, in between that as well, because they're the exact same importance as everybody else, and understanding that, 'cause especially when you have this kind of record. Now, you're the team that everyone wants to beat, so we can't come in. One thing I always say is we need to come in with the underdog mindset. The second you come in cocky or too confident and not having that mindset, that's when a team that is not as good as you can take advantage. So that's something that we're preaching 24/7, always coming in with that underdog mindset no matter who we're playing.
So when looking at that tough team, you mentioned IVC, the #1 team in the state currently right now. What you guys lost to them earlier in the year and during conference play. What was some things that they did special that you were impressed by when you in your first encounter?
Definitely, they're consistent. They don't make mistakes. They have great composure, so you can see there's a lot of maturity, volleyball IQ on that team. A lot of great things happening, just in a sense of out of system. They're keeping the ball in, but still aggressive. They also run a really fast middle, so that's something that we need to make an adjustment with. But at the end of the day, we know what to expect, and before every game we spend at least an hour going over with them our scouting report. So we scout every team, give them a breakdown, so they know exactly what to expect in every rotation, what hitters they're facing, what shots are open on defense. And that's one thing that I love to see is they don't just listen and they don't just buy into our scouting report, but they actually execute it. So for us, when we give them the scouting report, it's up to them to go out there and execute it, and they do a great job of taking that seriously and getting the job done with that scouting report. So we know what to expect against IVC. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it, because we took them to 4. It was pretty close, but I think we're a different team now than we were then. So we'll see where we compare.
And you highlighted Faith Webb's play earlier in the interview, but who are some of the other freshmen on this team that has really stood out to you this season?
Oh, good question. We have a lot of freshmen, so that's a plus. This was my first year that I was able to recruit. The previous year, I got the job in May. Season started in June, so I didn't have a lot of time. So this year, I brought in a lot of freshmen, more players than less, in my opinion. But some freshmen that have stood out. You have Faith, obviously, who's playing all 6 rotations as an outside, and then Karen and Chloe are 2 freshman setters. They've been battling for that starting position. But they've done a great job of coming in as freshmen and leading the team in that position, because at the end of the day, as a setter, you are kind of the quarterback, so there's a lot of weight on your shoulders, and they both come into practice and compete, because it's really easy when you're competing against someone to get maybe too competitive, but they're always calling out each other in practice in a positive way, saying, hey, great job, you make me want to work harder. And that's the mindset that we teach here. It's not a vicious competitive, it's, hey, you're pushing me, I need to work harder because I want to earn that starting spot. And they've done a great job competing with a healthy competition between each other. And then Riley is also a freshman on the right side, and what we love to see is her energy. She brings a great energy to the court, and just always looking to make changes, and so that's awesome to see as well.
All right, thank you very much for your time, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you so much. Really good.
All right, I'm here with freshman Faith Webb and sophomore Priscilla Gutierrez of the Fullerton women's volleyball team. And I'll start with you, Faith. So your team is currently on an 8-game win streak. What's the energy been like in the locker room between you girls?
It's been really good. A lot of motivation every game, before every game, and just getting our mindset right.
So I'm going to turn it over to you, Priscilla. You took a break from Fullerton last year, but then played 2 seasons ago. And have you ever been a part of a team that has this kind of momentum and been on this kind of win streak?
I have not. I feel like this team this year has a lot of chemistry, and I feel like we're going to go all the way to state with this team.
So as the libero for this team, what are some of your duties that you have to perform on a week-in and week-out basis for this squad?
I have to constantly build relationships with my team and constantly keep them on task and focused when on the court.
So Faith, I'm going to turn it back to you. You're one of the many freshmen who's had an impact on this team, and who are some of the other freshmen that, to your vantage point, has stood out on this season?
One freshman that stood out to me was Mackenzie, our middle. She's just getting up at every ball, and she works hard every practice and ready to get better.
Okay, and then looking at the sophomore, Sam Longstreet, she went down with an injury in today's game, but then she was able to get back in, and you guys went on an 8-0 run to close out that first set. What does Sam, the captain of your squad, do for your team?
She brings a lot of energy to the court, and just her presence on the court makes a huge difference. Everybody's just more confident, more trust on the court.
So I'm going to turn it back to you, Priscilla. And Priscilla, from you as a sophomore, who are some of the freshmen that have really stood out in your eyes that you'd like to highlight?
I think I want to highlight Faith, actually, because her energy and presence as a player is really impacting for this team. She brings so much talent and sportsmanship to this team that it's really going to help us go far to state.
When looking at the Orange Empire Conference, you have Orange Coast College, Irvine Valley College, two teams that are ranked along with you guys as well. What makes those two opponents so tough for you guys?
I think they have a lot of discipline. The coaches really, they have really high-ranked coaches, and that really makes them a good team.
So in order to win Orange Empire Conference, you have to go through Irvine Valley College again and also finish some other games off. What are some of those areas that you need to improve upon as a team that you'd like to see going forward?
I think some areas that we need to improve on is just communication and just trusting each other a little bit more on the court.
All right, well, thank you very much for both of your time, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now let's toss it over to Victor Vasquez, who will be talking a little bit more about freedom of speech here on the campus of Fullerton College.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victor Vasquez at the Coaches Show. Now, if you're a big sports fan, I'm pretty sure you've heard a lot about free speech and about what athletes can and cannot say. So today, we're going to discuss a little bit more about how free speech can not only impact professional athletes, but students as well as citizens.
Free speech and expression in sports have gone hand in hand since the creation of athletics. Rooting for a team and its players, as well as showing a fan's displeasure for the opposing team, are elements of competition that make sporting events more enjoyable. Unfortunately, this freedom is frequently taken to levels that go beyond what fans, coaches, media, athletes, and in particular, courts and governing bodies feel are appropriate. Muhammad Ali faced criticism when his religious beliefs prohibited him from serving in the Vietnam War. He ended up getting suspended and losing his boxing license. Ali filed a suit against the Athletic Commission, claiming that the commission acted impulsively in revoking his license, pointing out that other boxers had committed worse crimes, yet were allowed to continue to compete. The U.S. District Court of New York determined that although none of Ali's constitutional rights were violated, he had a case under private association law, as the Athletic Commission was a private organization. His license to compete was accordingly reinstated, returning Ali to his previous boxing status. This case primarily addressed Ali's right to vocally oppose the war, a world event that had nothing to do with boxing. That is just one of the many examples of free speech and how it impacted society by creating new concepts that no one thought possible. However, no matter the content of the speech or the circumstances, people on all levels of sport must be treated equally, for all are dependent on each other. A balance must be achieved. Athletes should not have to check their rights simply because they are in the public eye. Freedom of speech affects everyone, no matter if you're a professional athlete, student, or citizen. Fullerton College wants to encourage students, staff, and faculty to engage in forums in regards to free speech. During the 2018-2019 academic year, a collaborative work group was charged with updating the North Orange Community College District's Board Policy, BP 3900, and Administrative Procedures, AP 3900, speech, time, place, and manner policies. These policies were last updated in 2006. BP and AP 3900 outline the policies and procedures for free speech activities, including the distribution and posting of printed materials on campus and district sites. Under the direction of NOCCCD, Department of Public and Governmental Affairs and Legal Counsel, the work group drafted updates to BP and AP 3900 that reflect the importance of Americans' fundamental right of free expression, as well as the challenges that can come with the exchange of personal and political ideas, taking into consideration state and federal laws. To facilitate discussion about the draft policies and procedures, one free speech open forum will be held at Cypress College, Fullerton College, and North Orange Continuing Education's Anaheim campus during the fall of 2019. The first forum was held on October 14th, 2019 at Fullerton College. The second forum will be on Monday, November 18th, 2019 at Cypress College from 2 to 3:30 p.m. And the room will be held at CCC PLX 216 Lecture Hall at Cypress College. The final forum will be at North Orange Continuing Education's Anaheim campus on Thursday, November 21st, 2019 from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. in rooms 105/107. The goal of North Orange Community College District is to assure that all persons may exercise their constitutional right protected under the First Amendment to the United States Constitution.
That was just a brief discussion about free speech and how Fullerton College wants to get students and faculty more involved with their rights. Now I'm going to send it over back to Noah Alvarez and Ryan Osborne at the Coaches Show.
A big thanks to Megan Glennie and the rest of the volleyball coaching staff for having us out there at Colleen Riley Court this past week. For Ryan Osborne and Victor Vasquez, I'm Noah Alvarez. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Coaches Show here on 90.1 KBPK and SportsNetUSA.net.